It started on a rainy Tuesday evening in March. The kind of evening where the world outside feels distant, muted, and heavy with unspoken tension. The clock read 7:18 p.m. when Mia first noticed something was wrong. Her cat, Oliver, a gentle orange tabby who normally greeted her with a soft, warm meow, was pacing in tight circles by the front door. His tail flicked sharply, his whiskers angled forward, and then he let out a sound Mia had never heard before. A sharp, low, urgent meow that felt nothing like the affectionate chirps he used to give during breakfast. This was different. This was a warning. Mia froze, keys still in hand. "Oliver? What is it, buddy?" she whispered, stepping closer. The rain outside hammered the windows in rapid bursts, but Oliver's meow cut through the noise like a blade. He meowed again, shorter, sharper, as if telling her she needed to follow him. And she did. He bolted toward the kitchen, glanced back to make sure she was coming, then stopped beside the stove. His ears flattened. He released a long, loud, almost panicked meow that echoed off the tiled walls. Mia knelt beside him, scanning the room. Nothing seemed unusual until she smelled it. Gas. Oliver wasn't being dramatic. He was warning her. That moment changed everything for Mia. She had always thought a meow was just a meow, cute, harmless, something cats did because they couldn't speak. But that night she learned a truth most people never realize. A cat's meow is not random. It is intentional, nuanced, and deeply emotional. And sometimes it can save your life. If you've ever wondered why your cat meows at you softly, loudly, rapidly, or at strange times, this story is going to reveal a world you never knew existed. Because behind every meow is a message. And your cat has been speaking to you all along. After the gas leak was fixed and panic dissolved into relief, Mia sat beside Oliver on the couch. Her hands trembled slightly as she stroked his fur. He let out a soft, delicate meow, one she knew well. His comfort me meow. The contrast was striking. Moments earlier, he sounded forceful and urgent. Now he was gentle, almost melodic. It was the first turning point in Mia's understanding. Cats don't meow to each other, they meow to humans. It is a language they created specifically for us. For thousands of years, cats evolved an entire communication system: body language, scent signals, tail positions, pupil dilation, whisker angles. But when they chose to live with humans, they invented something new: a vocal code, a sound that reaches straight into the human brain because it mimics the cry of an infant. That's right. Scientists discovered that cats developed certain meows, particularly the high-pitched, urgent ones, to trigger the same instinct humans feel when a baby cries. This is why you cannot ignore your cat's meow. It activates your caregiving circuits, and they know it. A few days after the incident, Mia began paying closer attention to Oliver's meows. She noticed his morning meow was short and bright, almost cheerful, a request for breakfast. His afternoon meow was more conversational, like a soft asking for company. And sometimes, late at night, he'd release a long, slow meow, almost melancholy, which she later learned meant loneliness. Every cat parent thinks their pet is different. But in truth, cats around the world use the same categories of meows, universal signals shaped by survival, emotion, and instinct. And Oliver was no exception. He was speaking. Mia had simply never known how to listen. The next turning point came a week later. Mia was working on her laptop when Oliver approached her with a rapid-fire chain of tiny MRPs and mews. She thought he wanted attention. But his tail wasn't relaxed, it was twitching at the tip. His ears weren't forward, they were swiveling. His body wasn't calm, it was slightly tense. That's when she realized something. You cannot read a meow without reading the cat's body language. A meow is just one part of the sentence. So she stood up and followed him. He led her to the window, where a stray cat was perched outside. Oliver meowed loudly, repeatedly territorial, anxious, announcing his boundaries. It was the opposite of the affectionate meows he used with Mia. Another revelation. Cats change their meows depending on the target. They have a human voice, but they don't use it with other cats. And yet, there is another layer to this story, one far deeper, more emotional, and more revealing. A few nights later, Mia woke to a soft, trembling meow coming from the hallway. It wasn't urgent. It wasn't demanding. It was fragile, like something inside Oliver had cracked open. She found him sitting alone beside the bedroom door, staring at nothing. When she picked him up, he pressed his face into her neck and let out a tiny sound, one that felt like sadness. Cats experience grief. Cats experience anxiety. Cats experience loneliness. They may not cry tears, but they cry through their voice. In that moment, Mia realized something heartbreaking. Oliver's meows weren't just requests. They were emotional broadcasts. His fear, his hunger, his curiosity, his loneliness, they all had a sound. And the world had taught her to ignore them. Not anymore. The next morning, Mia began researching. She read scientific journals, behavioral studies, veterinary analyses, and accounts from feline specialists. She learned that cats typically use meows for 7 core reasons, and she began matching each one to Oliver's behavior. The first type of meow, the greeting meow, short, bright, friendly, the "I'm happy you're home" sound. Oliver did this every day when she returned from work, rubbing his face on her legs while chirping. The second, the attention meow, often gentle, rhythmic, or playful, the "look at me" sound. Oliver used this one when he wanted her to sit with him on the couch. The third, the hunger meow, loud, repetitive, persistent. Cats know exactly how to annoy humans into feeding them. It's not manipulation, it's learned reinforcement. We reward the sound. They repeat it. The fourth, the distress meow, rare but unforgettable. It is low-pitched, strained, emotional. It carries fear. It carries pain. It is the sound Oliver used during the gas leak. The fifth, the complaint meow, a direct, slightly irritated sound cats produce when something is wrong, like a closed door, a moved piece of furniture, or unmet expectations. Oliver used this every time Mia closed the bathroom door. The sixth, the cognitive decline meow, more common in senior cats. Long, confused, repetitive nighttime meowing caused by disorientation or anxiety. Thankfully, Oliver wasn't old enough to show this yet, but knowing it helped Mia understand how cats age. And finally, the seventh, the silent meow, a breath, a voiceless cry. The cat equivalent of a whisper. It is often affectionate, a sign of trust. Oliver used this one rarely, and only during moments of deep calm. It felt like a secret language just between them. But understanding the categories was only the beginning. The next emotional shift came when Mia learned that cats don't just choose their meows, they shape them based on how humans respond. This means a cat's meow is a tailored language, custom-made for you. Think about that for a moment. Your cat has learned what works on you. They study you. They experiment on you. They refine their communication like a scientist running behavioral tests. When you answer their meow a certain way, they log that information. They remember. And they adjust. Your cat is speaking a dialect designed specifically for your household. One evening, as Mia was analyzing Oliver's vocal patterns, she realized something truly astonishing. Oliver didn't just meow to communicate needs. He meowed to communicate memories. When he wanted to play with the feather toy he adored as a kitten, his meow was high-pitched and rapid. When he was taken to the vet and later recalled the fear, his meow was lower and longer for several days afterward. If Mia returned from a stressful day, Oliver would produce soft, comforting meows he didn't use at any other time. He mirrored her emotions. Cats not only express emotions, they respond to ours. This led Mia to another breakthrough. A cat's meow is not simply a sound. It is an emotional mirror. When you learn to decode it, you learn to decode your cat's inner world. But the story doesn't end here. Something happened that pushed Mia into the deepest understanding yet. One night, there was a storm. Thunder rolled across the sky in violent waves, shaking the windows. The lights flickered. Oliver padded into Mia's room and let out a tiny, fearful meow. Not loud, not dramatic, but trembling, vulnerable. She picked him up. He pressed his head into her shoulder and meowed again, soft, shaky, a sound that said, "Stay with me." And she did. For hours, she held him while the storm roared outside. For the first time, she understood what it meant to truly listen to a cat. Not as a strange animal, not as a mysterious creature, but as a being capable of emotion, fear, memory, connection, and trust. The next morning, the storm had passed, and Mia heard something she'd almost never heard from Oliver. A soft trill, a chirp, a sound filled with joy. It was his thank you. Weeks passed, and Mia grew fluent in Oliver's emotional language. She could tell when he was lonely, when he was excited, when he was bored, when he was asking for something specific, and when he simply wanted her presence. But something even more remarkable happened. By listening to Oliver's meows, she began noticing patterns in herself. She realized she used to miss emotional cues from others, from pets, even from her own needs. Oliver taught her how to pay attention. He taught her the language of awareness. And that is the deeper truth behind every cat's meow. They don't just speak to communicate, they speak to connect. Every meow is a thread binding them to us, woven with instinct, emotion, and memories. A cat's meow is not noise. It is not meaningless. It is not random. It is a story, a message, a moment of trust. When you ignore your cat's meow, you are ignoring the only voice they have. And that brings us back to where this all began. The night Oliver saved Mia. What if she had dismissed that urgent meow as annoying? What if she had brushed it off as just a sound? What if she had ignored him? A gas leak would have spread. The danger would have grown. The story you're hearing now might never have been told. Your cat's meow is more than communication. It's connection. It's instinct. It's intelligence. It's emotion. And sometimes it's protection. So the next time your cat meows, don't laugh it off. Don't dismiss it. Don't overlook it. Instead, listen. Because your cat is not just making a sound. Your cat is speaking to you. Your cat is trusting you. And your cat may be trying to tell you something that matters more than you know. If you enjoyed this story and learned something new, take a moment to show your cat a little extra love today. Respond when they meow, talk back, engage. Build the bond they've been trying to strengthen since the day they first walked into your life. Because somewhere right now, a cat is meowing. And now you know what it truly means.